we're losing the art, even the job of like teen babysitters. It's a super fascinating article talking about how now there's kind of a professional culture around babysitting. Like people wouldn't even really trust giving their child to someone that's maybe 13, 14, but how because society's changed in that way, girls are losing out on that opportunity to basically become an apprentice for motherhood. So even just simple things like cooking or learning how to change a diaper, and not just that they're not getting those skills, but the comfortability and connection with a child also makes people disconnected from even desiring that reality one day because they're not around toddlers or children. So they don't even really know what it's like, the joy that comes with that, the hardships that come with that. So people are really afraid now to even have kids because they don't understand it. And I was just thinking about how much of a benefit that was to people like my wife or some friends who grew up and that was their first job, was babysitting, who now are phenomenal mothers because they understand what it's like, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Being a babysitter when I was young, like that was such a great experience for me. I'm not a mom yet, but I just loved spending time with the babies. And it was hard work. I mean, it was hard work. And I think it made me as a child respect my mom more because I would go for 3, 4 hours to keep these kids and I was exhausted when I left. I mean, that was a hard day at work for me. And I do agree. But then I actually was thinking when I was home, my niece turned 13 when I was visiting my parents over Easter. And I thought, somebody let me keep their kids when I was her age. Like who let me do that? And it's just, I think I do think kids are a little bit different now.
They're not inherently different, though. I mean, it's just again, it's what we as a culture have allowed to happen. So, like my daughters, they're now 17 and 15 or whatever, but they've been babysitting the neighbor kids for years, and they're trusted completely with little babies. And so, I mean, again, it's just the opportunity. I didn't have that opportunity when I was a kid. Like my younger sister was only 2 years younger than me, so there was no one else of family that was in the close proximity. So I didn't have that opportunity as others did. But I'm happy that my children have the opportunity.
Another thing that was brought up in the article was because we've gone so digital and we're isolated, people, and for other reasons, we don't know our neighbors as well. And so before, maybe 40 years ago, you knew everyone on your street personally, first name basis. You knew their job. You knew where they went to church. You knew a lot more about them than most people do now. So people don't really know or trust their neighbors. So even the idea, Josh, that you said, oh, your daughters go watch the neighbor kids, that's probably a little bit more of a rarity now in most of the country. And so even from a community perspective of like knowing, trusting, and feeling connected to the people around you, that actually was kind of an important community social fabric thing that now is lost as well. Because if you're just hiring professional babysitters that have a business or something like that are older, those aren't your neighbor girls. Those aren't, so you don't get that opportunity to connect as well.
Growing up, people just showed up at the house and, swung on by and knocked on the door. If somebody did that to me now, I would be like, what, who are you? Why are you here? Like looking through the people.
Oh, that was the best part. It was like, you go around the neighborhood and you look to see where all the bikes are parked, and that's where all the boys were. And you're like, all right, this is where we're hanging out today, like wherever all the bikes are.
Well, I think that's why, like, I've been raving so much about Tim Carney's new book, Family Unfriendly. He said we need to get back to this idea where the church, was these third spaces, and churches are a good place to have third spaces where families can get together, have a barbecue, t-ball, kids playing on the playground, and moms and dads can have that adult time where they can kind of decompress and not have to helicopter their kids anymore. And the kids can have fun times, with each other. And, when you have all those different kids of all those different ages too, then a lot of the, like the girls, then they look at, they like to kind of look after the little ones too. And so, yes, it is an apprenticeship as well, not just the babysitting, but just time at a park like that. So I think, all that would be to the good.